A common question that we get making this show is whether or not the two of us actually skate. And the answer is no, but Wen did take her first lesson last week. And how's that going for you?
Pain. So much pain.
And you didn't even fall.
I didn't even fall. Just, there was a lot of squatting motions and there was just a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, I mean, it reminded me of the fact that figure skaters are superhuman, period, end of story. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. So additional layer of respect to skaters for being able to do the things that they do, because just being on the ice can be really challenging. Yes. So this episode, we're going to be talking about the 2026 European Championships. So Wen, why don't you lead us in?
Well, welcome to Choreography, a show about the greatest sport on ice, figure skating. I'm Wendy Buskey.
And I'm Adrian Buskey. And the European Championships took place this past weekend. There were so many competitors.
Oh my God.
So just long.
Never ending.
This was the week back on the couch for us after having been at U.S. Nationals in person in St. Louis. And that was a lot of skating and a lot of events and days and days and days of it. But being back at home, watching most of it not in real time, I'll say right up front that we didn't watch everything because we couldn't. Yeah,
it was not possible for us this time.
Yeah,
it really just wasn't.
Yeah, the only thing that I saw in real time was the end of the women's event. Everything else we were catching up with because different time zones and stuff as well. So maybe we should start off with the ice dance event.
I think that makes sense because it was certainly the deepest field here of big competitors. So I think, to no one's surprise, a winner by, I won't say a mile, but 12 points is pretty close to that. Laurence Fournier-Boudrien's Guillaume Cizeron took it and did so in very impressive fashion.
Yeah, I mean, Guillaume were terrific here.
They were.
And, this is happening against a strange backdrop in a moment of time where Guillaume's former partner, Gabriel Papadakis, just released a memoir that then right before publication, Guillaume was sending cease and desists over and threatening legal action about the content of the book. It's only been published in French, so we haven't read it. We haven't gotten our hands on it. We've only kind of heard about what people have said about it online.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely put a cloud over watching Guillaume at this competition. There is no question. I mean, I want to read the book so that I feel like I can speak to it in a more educated fashion, but it made it a little more complicated. Feeling good about everything right now.
And everything about Guillaume has had sort of complicated feelings. And that's not going to color our commentary about how they skated here. It's just sort of a recognition of this is just a thing that's going on. We also know that Gabby got removed as an NBC commentator for the Olympics because of that legal action, because of the conflict of interest of it, which is both frustrating but also understandable from a lot of different levels. And
it's messy.
You know that you're courting controversy whenever you release something like that, just right before the Olympics where your former partner is at. And
there's reasons for that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I am very happy for Gabby to be a person who has been pursuing her own open persona about her life on and off the ice. And I applaud her for this. I mean, these kinds of books, I think about Gracie Gold's book, things that give us a look into the lives of skaters, and that it changes our perception and allows us to see things from a more realistic standpoint rather than just whatever shiny version gets painted or the salacious versions that we get, online. But aside from all of that, here in competition, I don't think that there's a lot of argument that Laurence Fournier-Boudrien and Guillaume Cizeron were the best of the field here.
Yeah, if you're just looking at the skating and taking all of that context out of it, it's very apparent how good they are. For a long time, we have known that Laurence is one of the best female ice dancers, period, that is active today. That's a given. Their partnership feels so organic and just it's beautiful watching them skate. It's complicated, but it is beautiful.
Yeah, I thought that their Vogue rhythm dance is as sharp as we've seen it all season. And the free skate is phenomenal. The last time that we saw it, which I think was at Grand Prix final, I gone a little cold on it, not in the sense of not being impressed by what they're doing. For the first time I saw it, I was just struck by how mesmerizing it is. It is a beautiful piece of like modern dance art on ice. The one problem that I have with it is that it tends to really stay in the pocket emotionally. The nature of the music, the nature of the lifts and everything, it still stays very low. It stays very centered. It's like it plays to a strength of their, and this is a team that's only been together for a year, right?
Yeah.
So it's understandable that maybe they don't have the full dynamics that some of the other teams do, but what they're doing is extraordinary. The lifts they are doing are superhuman. They are really amazing. But when you see it in comparison to a lot of the other teams here, there's just more dynamic things over people's heads, more like challenging lifts in places than I think some of the stuff that they're doing. And that's debatable because it's...
I was going to say challenging is maybe not what I would think of it as. Just, I agree with you that it's a little bit more one note, and I don't say that as an insult. I say it as just it's very different than anyone else. And it's also a matter of taste. Like, speaking of like other competitors here, like this is the best we've seen Charlene Guinard and Marco Fabri, and I feel like they were the most comparable in terms of their performance. However, if you're talking about just the dynamics of their program, yeah, there's just a little bit more, but they've also been together for ever. Ever and ever.
Yeah. So the premier Italian team of Guinard and Fabri, of course, have been struggling the last couple of years with diminishing in the overall international rankings. They have been, essentially the best European team for years.
For quite a while, yeah.
And last year and into this year, last year we saw material that just wasn't at a taste level that clearly the vast majority of fans and judges preferred. Like they
still
really
won the Euros last year, though.
Yes, they did, which was a kind of a shocking thing to remember that they still had it, considering how often it felt like they were getting beat by like Fear and Gibson and then going into this year where they have seemed at a disadvantage through a lot of the season. I still think that their Backstreet Boys rhythm dance is a little hello fellow kids,
unfortunately
it doesn't look quite right on them. And I wish that they had different material for that. It's still skated very well. It just doesn't look right on them.
No.
But the free skate is much more in line with what we want to see from Charlene and Marco. Like, it really showcases their intense technical ability as an ice dance team. Like, they are so refined. They have just such incredible skating skills. And here, like, I think what you were saying as far as like that program is the most one-to-one comparable to what Gilo are doing in their free skate, in the sense that they're both much more...
I don't want to say classic, because I mean their styles are so different.
Yeah.
But I do feel like you feel the similarities between those two teams and just their polish, their I mean, I think, what was the word that Chris, the commentator, kept using? Sophistication.
Yeah. Both of those feel like, well, Gilo's feels intensely modern versus Guinard and Fabri's feels much more traditional.
Yeah.
At the same time, it still feels like in a genre similar to each other. Because then when you step down to the third place of Fear and Gibson, their free skate is just radically different, as is their rhythm dance. Because this is, they're the Disco Brits, they're the party team. And I think most of us thought going into here that they were probably going to lock second place. That did not happen largely because they had some mistakes in the free.
Pretty big mistake on the twizzle. Like that was rough to watch, where they almost kind of, I think they actually did kind of bump into each other. Like, it was just a very awkward moment.
It got way out of whack. And for a moment, it almost looked like Lila didn't know where she was. I think the tough thing for Fear and Gibson here is that their two programs this season felt tailored for this specific moment.
Absolutely.
Like you have a 90s program, they're doing the Spice Girls. This event was
in Sheffield.
Yes, they're in Sheffield, England. And then when they do the free skate, which is all set to Scottish themes, it just felt like they had always engineered these two programs to hit perfectly at this moment. And the Spice Girls program really hit.
It was the best they've done it, for sure. And they were in second after that.
Mm-hmm. But Though when they took the ice for the free dance, you could see the stress on Lila's face. They normally come out with like all of the brightness of just ready to perform and do everything. And I felt like Lewis still had that face as they were coming out. But Lila looked pinched. She looked like the level of that stress was weighing on her. That just feels very unusual for them. And she just felt tighter through that whole performance.
Yeah. I mean, it was noticeable that the nerves had taken over at certain points. I felt like about halfway through, like I felt like they generally loosened up, but also slowed down.
Yes.
So I know that might not make sense, but I felt like their performance value went up, but their speed decreased and they were being a little safer in what they were performing. So
yeah, Chris, the commentator, said that he's like, I don't know if it'll be obvious to people watching it at home, but in the arena, you could see that their speed was really uneven, that their tempo was kind of going up and down a lot during the performance. And they're normally very fast.
Exactly. And they had multiple mistakes. So to be honest, I really was kind of feeling like they got a little bit of a gift because Lopareva and Berceau were phenomenal. They were 5 points behind. So I think that there was a decent amount of padding from how great that rhythm dance was that saved them. But Lopareva and Berceau, especially in their free dance, I thought were phenomenal.
Yeah. The other French, one of the 3 French teams here and 3 in the top 10. Genya and Joffrey, like they were 5th after the rhythm. And I think that's really the differentiator here. Because I do think that they were definitively better in the free than Fear and Gibson. And even though that's not reflected in how the scoring came down, I don't know. I mean, they were like foot perfect. I didn't see any flaws in what that French team did. They were fantastic, and I love that program.
Well, and especially after their awkward start to their free dance, like they had started their program and then had to stop because something was seen on the ice, and so they had to start over, which did not faze them in the slightest, apparently, because they just seemed to brush it off like nothing and just go out and do a free dance better than I've seen them do all season.
Yeah, and there were a few little errors like this because when we talked about the Georgian team, they had a problem with that in their rhythm with the wrong music being played. And
twice.
Yes.
That was bad.
It was an absolute mess. And we've seen so much of that this season. It's really frustrating. But in their case, it was somebody spotting that there were sequins or something on the ice, and for their safety, they needed to pick that up. And that they rolled that right off of them and then just got to work. And I thought that free it was the best that we've seen from them this whole season. It's so fantastically put together. This team just always feels so underrated, even though, they're always like just at the edge of the podium, and they've gotten on them before, but
they were on last year's Europeans podium, I think in silver. So they've done it, but it's always, if other people mess up, they jump ahead.
Yeah.
But whenever everybody is doing fairly well, they are generally speaking kind of just pushed slightly back. And we're moving into a new quad next season, so we'll see how and if that changes. But I got the impression from the post interview that Mark Henretti did with Guillaume that they're not going anywhere. Guillaume specifically referenced this as their first European title.
Yeah.
So I get the impression they're sticking around, and I'm curious as to what that means for Lopareva and Berceau.
Yeah, absolutely. There was something you said there, though, that I think segues really nicely to the Lithuanians, which you're basically saying that Lopareva and Berceau have a tendency to jump up when somebody else makes an error because they so rarely make mistakes. When somebody else does, they're well positioned to take advantage of it. And that did happen with the Lithuanians. I think the thing with Alison Reed and Saulius Ambrulivicius, and I'm realizing that I'm probably not saying Ambrulivicius. It's like somebody gave us a pronunciation guide for it, and I can't seem to kind of get my mouth around the right sound with it. So my apologies for that. It's like that was so many of the different international skaters. So I'm going to run with how I say his name right now, but I'm working on it. And we talk a lot. Allison and Saulius are one of our favorite ice dance teams. They are fantastic, but we've worried this whole season that they might have been trained to peak early because they had to come out the gate essentially perfect in order to lock their Olympic spot.
Absolutely.
After not making the free at Worlds last year. And this whole season, I mean, they have one of my favorite rhythm dances in a season full of rhythm dances that are kind of meh. The 90s theme has been questionable in a lot of ways. Theirs with Cantaloupe and I'm Too Sexy really works, and it really worked here. It was great, and they were 4th after that program. But their techno, This Is My Church, I forget exactly what it's called, song, which I've really liked as counter programming to everybody else over the course of the season because it's so different. it kind of came apart here.
Yeah, unfortunately, it very much felt like each of them made enough of an error in different parts of the program where there was no way that they were going to stay fourth, like compared to like a lot of these other teams. But also, I had the same concern early in the season. But at the same point, they're so professional. They're so like just ready. They're going to go to the Olympics. That is the victory for them. So I feel like while this is, I'm sure, disappointing, in 3 weeks they're going to accomplish the mission that they've been on track for the past several years. So I hope that that's a nice balm to the disappointment for sure.
Yes. And knowing that like 2 years ago they were bronze at the Lithuanian held Europeans that year, you're always hoping to kind of get back to that spot, but ice dance has been shaken up a little bit more than usual over those last seasons. So
this season's a little different.
Yeah. I think they still did a nice job, but definitely that free kind of let them down there. I think when you get to the 6th place finish of Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin, we were talking about earlier, they like their rhythm dance got like off to a bad start because they played the wrong music on them twice. And you could see Gleb was pissed. Diana handled it really well. I don't think it colored her performance at all. She shook it off like no problem, but Gleb looked surly through that entire program. But I think that what Davis and Smolkin showed off here was what they've been doing this whole last season, which is just showing that Gleb's always been great, but Diana has progressed so much.
Yeah.
I do think that of everybody kind of in this like top 10, their free dance is the most traditional and most kind of the by the books ice dance.
Yes.
And they do it very well, but I just I think that there are a couple of other teams, particularly Smart and Deke, that just delivered much better and should have been scored much higher.
Oh, yes.
The one thing that's been so weird over the course of there's been a lot of weird things. I mean,
it's ice dance.
It's ice dance. The scoring has been nonsense all season. The judging has been super weird. It's shaking up in ways that we always talk about, like, we don't want it to go by hierarchy all the time. But at the same time, you want some level of meritocracy happening. And there are just times where it just seems like very good teams are not getting scored the way that they should. And other teams like the Georgians have kind of come up the ranks really, really fast, while not necessarily being noticeably better than a lot of these other teams. And I don't say that as any shade towards the Georgians, because again, I think that they've improved dramatically. I have some problems with that rhythm dance because of the way the music selection works with the Offspring music, but I do think that they were really nice in the free. I just don't think that they were in any way better than Smart and Deke.
Well, they also followed Smart and Deke, and I have been very open with my feelings that I love this team. I think they were very underscored in the rhythm dance. Massively
under. They were 10th in the rhythm.
I do not understand, obviously, based on the interview that Olivia gave after the free dance, they didn't understand it either.
And they were given like an exclamation point on something that they and their team seemed to take issue with.
Yeah, and I just do feel like they are being held in place a bit. And yes, they were not maybe foot perfect, but I do think, especially when you're comparing them to several of the other teams above them, it doesn't make any sense. But that said, they did get a really nice score for their free dance to Dune. I do think it should have been higher there as well, especially whenever you are listening to Chris, the commentator in the arena, just like overwhelmed like by how good that was. Mm-hmm. And they were amazing.
Yeah,
in that
both the
dance.
ISU commentators were just floored by their Dune 2 program.
It should be getting a lot bigger numbers than it's getting. And granted, their number here was fantastic. A 121.27 is nothing to scoff at in a free skate for them. So fantastic. I just think they should have been, honestly, as much as I love the Lithuanians, I think they should have been about 5th here. I would have felt more comfortable with it, but I am not a judge.
Yeah.
So
well, I don't understand why they weren't over 200 in their total.
I agree.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And comparing them to the Lithuanians, comparing them to the Georgians, I'm like, I just think both their programs were better.
Yes.
And
agreed.
Yeah, I think their rhythm dance had maybe the ever so smallest, almost unnoticeable kind of error, like in the twizzle, but like it didn't break rotation. It wasn't any big thing. It was just, it was tiny, but I don't know. It's
ice dance.
It's the thing that Olivia said is that she hates that they're being treated like they're a free dance team, like that you just kind of ignore them in the rhythm, and then they come out and they do these cinematic, extraordinary free dance, but they can't get high enough because the rhythm dance always holds them back. And I'm definitely frustrated by that. I'm frustrated for them. I'm frustrated by so much of the scoring over the course of the season. But the thing that is a constant problem in the sport is that so many of these teams are so incredibly good. If there aren't major errors, making those comparisons just feels like wildly difficult and so just preferential. And yeah, I don't know. When we go really quickly through the rest here, some standout performances. I love the free skate from Demagou and Le Mercier, the other French team, the third French team. I loved it. And I'm particularly so impressed with Phoebe Becker and James Hernandez.
Oh, they were so good.
Their free dance, which is a Romeo and Juliet program, is just fantastic. They are not quite as strong technically as a lot of the more experienced teams, but they just have like future world champion like written all over them. They are just so good.
They captured the moment for Britain, and I loved that. Like the crowd response, I don't know, it felt magical watching them there. So the placement almost feels irrelevant. I wish they had cracked the top 10, but then I look at every team above them and I'm like, no, 11th is probably right.
Yeah.
But still hugely enjoyable to watch. Love them.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's move on to the women's event, which I was thrilled with due to the fact that we now have a 2-time European champion, Niina Petrokina.
That's so huge. So like I mentioned earlier, this is the only event that I saw in real time. I saw the last 6 skaters of the women's free. Notably, last year at Europeans, it was the only event that I saw in real time.
Yeah.
And in the same way, for whatever reason, like both times, I just basically tuned in to watch Niina Petrokina blow the roof off the place. And we have been Petrokina like fans for like the last 4 years. We really latched onto her early, even before she got her first Grand Prix medal. And we're like, this is really somebody to watch, especially after we heard like Johnny Weir kind of malign her on one of like their broadcasts one day.
He's warmed a lot.
He has, yeah. But his description of her skating was really uncharitable, and it really frustrated me. And I think it was like kind of the first time where I was really like, oh man, I'm kind of ready to leave this commentary behind. But ever since then, Niina has been one of our faves, and the last 2 years, she has just shown up at Europeans and delivered when it counted. Last time she came in as maybe an expectation for the podium or close to it, but definitely not the person anybody thought was going to win the whole thing. And coming in this time as the defending champion is a whole different level of pressure.
Especially after the medical issues she has been dealing with. Like I think she got back to skating competitively in November of this last year. So she missed a good chunk of the first part of the season.
I think we saw her at I want to say Nepola. And or one of the challenger
events. That early, but maybe
one way or another, we saw her at a challenger event, and she had a really bad event.
Yeah,
I believe it was the same event that we saw like Cheon Kim for the first time, and they both were underperforming at it. I think. I mean, it's been a long season, but one way or another, it wasn't strong, and you could see that she was really struggling at that point. And so seeing her come out at Europeans with that weight of being the reigning champion and live up to it, because most of the other women really struggled at this event. And by the time you got to Nina's free skate, the hope was just, can we end this on a high note?
Right.
Because everybody was faltering, and she came out and delivered a clean skate.
She won this by, 24 points?
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, like a massive win over Belgium's Luna Hendricks, who's also had an injury-plagued season. So
we're going to say this over and over again in this top 10.
It is bizarre how much that has plagued the European skaters, especially. Like it was a hefty number of them, but I thought Luna handled it okay. Like she definitely looked extremely frustrated through her programs, both of them. However, she did well enough to still make the podium. And I saw several interviews with her afterwards. She said she wasn't unhappy about the medal. It was unhappy with her performances.
Sure. Yeah. I found both of her, particularly her free skate, fairly uncompelling. And you could just see that it's because it just wasn't working out right. Like she's still
working through how it the program comes together.
Yeah.
Like, you can see her thinking through the whole program.
Yeah, and I think that it's been kind of the story for her. I mean, she was really good at the Olympic qualifier event, but most of the time we've seen Luna over the last couple of years, she's been extraordinarily uneven, and she's had to come back from surgery and a lot of different challenges. And I think that her arriving at this silver here is a testament to her own grit, but also a testament to how many of the women who were above her initially kind of fell apart. She was fifth after the short program, and based on her performance, that made a lot of sense. I think her landing in this silver position, like you noted, so many points back from Petrokina, is just a note of like how messy the rest of the field was here. And I'm very happy for Luna because it has been a really tough road over the last couple of years, but those weren't what I would have thought of as like silver medal skates.
No, but I think if I am most excited about for anyone getting a medal here, it is the third place finish for Italy's Lara Naki-Gutman with her first European medal, which is amazing. She also did not have her best skates here. We've seen much better from her this season. However, it's understandable. I mean, she was in medal position. This is even after the short, she was within range of getting on that podium. And that's a lot of pressure when no one has been on the podium from it. No Italian woman has been on the podium since Carolina Costner.
Oh, wow.
So,
really?
Yeah. So that's a big deal. So this is wonderful for Lara, especially going into Milan.
Yes.
Thrilled.
Well, and I think that when you note that she has the nod for the Olympics, and she had two other Italian teammates here with her, and she was behind Anna Pezzetta after the short program. And you never want to kind of like lose to your teammate after you're the one who's been selected for the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I thought her free skate was interesting because she actually kind of looked like she was more adrenalized than usual. Like Lara Naki-Gutman is like the calm, bookish queen, right? Like she feels just so centered most of the time. And you could see the nerves on her, and it felt like she was putting more juice into the jumps. Like it almost looked like she was over-rotating things. Like it just felt like her foot was a little heavier on the gas pedal than usual. And it took her a while to settle down and get the rest of the program together. And it never looked as good and as clean as normal. And that's one I was watching live, and I as a huge fan of Lara Naki-Gutman, I just had this like, oh no, that shot's probably gone. And as it turned out, like it wasn't and she made it to the podium, and I am thrilled for her. But again, it is a combination of doing what you needed to do in the moment while other people didn't. I think for both her and Luna, it's the excitement of having gotten there, but knowing that you didn't do it with particularly great skates.
Yeah, and I think especially for Luna, that's a little harder. For Lara, I hope she can shake it off quickly, especially going 3 weeks into her home Olympics.
Yeah, and the thing about the sport is that most of the time, the future memory of these things is only about who wins. Who
gets medals.
People won't be so worried about how well you did in it. It'll just be like, you are a European medalist.
Exactly.
And that is all that will matter afterwards.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It wasn't as good of a situation for Niina Pinzarone. Like, she was looking good in the short program.
Second in the short.
And that especially, again, after coming back from injury and not having much of a season.
She's only skated once this season. She skated at Golden Spin.
It's
and that's
wild.
The only time. And she did not look good at Golden Spin.
She
Those
didn't.
skates were rough there.
Yes. Her short looked really nice here. Her free was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard to watch.
And
like, she was 8th in the free.
And that's the one she carried over from last season.
Yeah.
And it was gorgeous last season. And so it's been tough to see her try to re-embody that program, but having challenges. And yeah, it was super. I felt so bad for her. I mean, she was on the podium last year at Europeans, and she is a terrific skater. To see those challenges, to see her drop so hard. I mean, the fact that she still held on to 4th is really impressive after really only having one other event this season.
It really is.
But it was tough to watch.
I was bummed for Anastasia Gubanova as well, because she was 11th after the short program, and that's brutal.
Last year's silver medalist.
Yes, and she was 2nd in the free skate. So she did get a small medal for the free skate, which is wonderful. And she looked overwhelmed and overjoyed at the end of her free skate. So I'm thrilled she got that redemption, but I'm sure she wanted a better than 5th place finish here.
I mean, Gubanova this has been kind of the story of her career over the last couple of seasons. I mean, we saw her wash out of the free at Worlds last year because her short program went so poorly. She's one of the best women in the European Union, but
a former European champion.
Yeah, but she's uneven, and sometimes when the programs come apart, they come apart poorly. We'll see that elsewhere at this event.
Yeah.
But the fact that she didn't fall out of the competition, she came back so strongly, is a real testament to her abilities and her force of will, and means that she is still very much a factor going into the end of the season. You
Absolutely.
definitely can't count her out because of that one bad skate.
No, not at all. The rest of the top 10 is, again, littered with a few more people that have had issues throughout the season. Kimi Rapond, fresh back from her injury.
Is this the only time that we've seen her compete?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is her first competition of the year, of the season. So her coming in 7th here, she looked fine with it. She knew, she's warming up. But we'll see.
She's had no season. This is a crazy place to step in.
I'm glad it was here and not Milan, so she at least gets a little bit of a warm up,
and still comes in 7th here. I mean,
behind Serena Yus, another Italian who moved up from 7th to 6th.
Yeah,
so
and there were 34 or 39 or something women in this competition.
Yeah,
so
a lot.
Yeah, it's a ton. I think that and you look at 8th and Anna Pizzetta, like we were talking about, she was in 3rd after the short program.
Such a strong short program.
So good. I mean, her jumps are huge. Her artistry is evolving. She just has so much power out there, but she can't always hold on to it. And the free skate was a real example of that.
It was nerves. I mean, it feels like the mental side is what it is for her, because her jumps are gigantic and so exciting to watch. She is evolving as a skater. But yeah, it was it started off in the free skate looking like it was going to work, and then it just completely collapsed.
Yeah. I think the tough thing about looking at this competition overall is if you compare it to, say, U.S. nationals that just happened, go back a month to Japanese nationals, and you look at just those two feds and the women in those competitions and how strong they were. And then you look at all of the European and Petrokina comes out looking really good here after some really nice skates, but everybody else looks far weaker than just those two federations. So it doesn't bode super well for them going into Milan. But then again, that is in Europe. It'll be in Italy, and that'll definitely be home field advantage for some of these women. And I'm hoping that they are able to, especially with Laura Naki-Gutman, just turn it up at home and really show off what she's capable of.
Absolutely.
But it was a rough watch in a lot of ways.
It was definitely a rough one. Well, I want to move us on to the pairs, where I was not totally shocked that we saw the first European title go to Anastasia Metelkina and Luca Berilava. I don't know that this was the best competition overall for anyone, but I thought that they looked pretty stellar.
Other than Luca's terrifying footwork on their lifts, because that continues to be scary and worrisome.
I've hit a point where I can only look at his feet, and I'm terrified to see what's going to happen, because there's been so many close calls on the lifts this season for them.
But, they're not the team that blew a lift, so say what you will about it, but they kept it all upright, and
they just looked like winners.
We've been waiting
honestly,
this whole season for the Georgian team to take a really big medal like this.
It's been coming.
Yeah.
It really has. And it solidifies them as a big challenger at the Olympics. We knew that already, but I feel like going in as European champions only gives that more fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
They are going to challenge for that title. I think everyone needs to be prepared that they could win the whole thing.
Yes. I think what's really notable about their win here is that if there's a trend with Metelkina and Berilava, it's that if they go into a competition in first after the short, you often see them really collapse in the free. They might still win like they did at Junior Worlds, but they'll do it really, really messily. And now they looked great, of course, at the Georgian Challenger event earlier this season as well, and held it together. But I think this is the most consistent we've seen them from short to free, and just really hold on to it. And their exuberance at the end of it, when they knew they'd locked it down and won, was really fun to see.
It was. And it was fun to see both. I think it was just actually Nika Gazzi had come out because they're really close friends, and
Yeah.
just they celebrated together, and it was at the end of that, and in the kiss and cry. So that was, I don't know, it gave you the warm fuzzies. It was good vibes.
The Georgian skaters tend, I mean, we've seen it at other events, tend to go into the kiss and cry in support of each other at them, because they are really close, and we'll see it again, when we talk about the men's. But
little
spoilers.
But Easter egg.
Yeah, in general, I thought the two of them were really strong. The quibble I have at this event is the second place finish of Minerva Fabian Hasse and Nikita Volodin from Germany, because as much as I love this team, they should not have been in second place.
No, unfortunately. I have been thinking of Minerva and Nikita as the team to beat at the Olympics for over a year. And this season has been making me question that over and over again. And I don't want to question that, because I really, really think this team has everything to take the Olympic title. But I don't know if it's just that extreme pressure of the Olympic season that is kind of causing these uncharacteristic errors. Because overall, if you they have the most beautiful lines. They have so many things going for them. And they're just making uncharacteristic errors, especially the lift at the end of the free skate was just disastrous. And I felt terrible because Minerva fell on one of the throws in the free skate, and you saw a huge welt just getting darker and darker throughout the program after the fall on her thigh. So it's that feeling of she is in pain. She's just getting through it as best she can.
She was clearly in pain in the kiss and cry too. She couldn't sit comfortably. Yeah.
So I feel awful because this team has just been, I don't know, primed for this whole season. Just this whole quadrennial has just been going more and more their way. And then right at this moment, it feels like something's going wrong. And I'm hoping it pivots away in the best possible fashion for Milan, but it's worrying me.
Yeah, there's just been too many errors and uncharacteristic things from before, and we've seen lifts fail a couple of times now, and this one, just their last lift just came apart at the very end. And I think it's kind of notable to look at them in the kiss and cry when they got their scores, because they also clearly did not think they should have been in second.
100%.
Because they saw their score for the free skate come in and show where they had placed, which at the time was second after the Hungarians. And they're like, yeah, that's right. And then it comes up as them still being in first, meaning they were going to lock the silver position. And they both go, no. And
they both shook their head, and you see Nikita look over at the Hungarians who were in the leader's chair at that point and just give them the no. That's not correct.
Yeah, they were both firmly aware they should not have held that spot.
Yes.
And I appreciated that from the standpoint of seeing the competitors.
It's such class, and it's just honest. Yeah. Like they knew. But yes, Maria Pavlova and Alexei Svievchenko from Hungary did get the bronze here. I think they should have been silver. Their free skate was not perfect. They also had problems. It had messy spots. But if you look at their two programs together, I just think that they did more than they should have been that extra step higher. They were only less than a point behind Minnie and Nikita. So it was tiny, tiny bits.
Right.
But I still feel for them because, I mean, it's their first time on a European's podium. So that alone is wonderful.
Yeah.
But they probably should have had silver.
Yeah, I mean, Pavlova and Svievchenko are a team that we talk about a lot as being kind of always the bridesmaid, never a bride. So them getting on this podium is still a really big deal. They're a very young team still.
Yes.
And they have had such evolution this season.
Massive.
Just restyled and the new material that works really nicely on them. The real problem really comes down to the free skate was really good outside of, I think there was like one maybe problem on a side-by-side or something that Maria had, but overall it was really strong. It's just that the program peters out in its last 30 seconds. We talked about something at US Nationals that was like this too, and I can't remember what it was offhand, but your program needs to hold its energy to the end, because if you, it was Green and Parsons. That if all of your big stuff kind of happens well before it finishes, you lose the energy of the crowd and you lose your own performance energy. And you could see this team every once in a while will kind of clearly sort of lose their place a little bit if they kind of get out of sync. And I think that happened to them at the end. If they had not had it come apart a little bit at the end. And there wasn't any major mistakes. It just
got real
loose.
messy.
Yeah.
They looked more like the team of old that we've seen. It was the polish kind of went away and like just sheer exhaustion took over.
Yes.
And I get it. It's just, I do think they did enough to earn that silver. So it bums me out. But still, great job just getting on the podium here.
Yeah. If there was the team that I maybe enjoyed the most out of everybody, though, it was the other German team of Annika Haka and Robert Kunkel.
Absolutely agree. I love Annika Haka.
Oh my gosh.
I love her.
She is like, it's one of those, like, it feels very parasocial, but when I see like skaters that I would like want to know, Annika is one of them. Like she just seems so fun. I love her posts like on Instagram, like every morning it's her going to get her coffee. And it always just was like, I'd get coffee with Annika Haka because I just feel like
Anytime.
she'd be really entertaining, you know?
Yes.
I love this team and I always enjoy them, but like they've had really uneven seasons for a while. And of course they had a serious injury at the beginning of this one and they've bounced back from it really nicely. And I think they should be very happy with their performances here. They were super strong and really enjoyable. And I think of everything from the pairs competition, what I'm going to remember most is the two of them because they were what I liked the most.
And they were the happiest I've seen them with their programs in a long time. So
Yes.
that brought me a lot of joy. Before we move on to the men, I do want to give a special shout, though, to the 7th place team of Anastasia Vepian-La and Luke Digby. They had a wonderful short program, especially. Not as well as I'm sure they would have liked to have done in the free, but it's their highest finish ever, I believe, at 7th. I just thought, especially on home turf, that's a lot of pressure, and they did a really nice job.
Yeah, and that's a team that often has uneven performances where they might have something go really poorly and then have a great skate, or the other way around. But I always enjoy watching them too, so I'm glad that they placed high.
Well, now let's talk about the men, which was a mess.
This literally should have been called the menning competition.
Yeah.
Because it is all over the place, with the exception of the winner, Niina Agadze from Georgia, who
he held it together and did the absolute best skates I have ever seen from him.
Niina looked so much calmer and happier.
His free skate, he was smiling at the beginning of it. I'm sorry. Men don't smile at the beginning of their free skates in big competitions.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare. I felt like it was I've got this.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
It was very strong.
Niina is, of course, a great technical skater who is not
He's not an artistic
He's
guy.
not an artistic skater, but he has really good jumps, but he does have problems with like falling back on his heels a lot. He can get very, very messy. And this was a far more consistent set of programs, not flawless, but definitely just put together much stronger. I mean, when you look at his total here, we haven't talked a whole lot about scores in this episode, but like he comes up with a 273 flat. That is a very solid score, but of course is not like you wouldn't expect him to be in the top 6 at the Olympics with that score.
Depends on the day.
But it depends on the day and depends on how people perform. Because
exactly.
So often I'm always thinking it like that 280 and above is really what we're kind of looking for. But then, you know, the men are falling all over the place and having really bad skates a lot of the time. So
I think this definitely puts him in the conversation for top 6. At the Olympics for sure. And this is a personal best for him significantly.
Yeah.
So it definitely gives, I think, a good amount of heat behind him going into Milan in 3 weeks. And I was really happy to see that. But the rest of this podium was a shock to me personally.
I never saw any of this coming.
I did not see it coming, but I am delighted by it. I wouldn't argue it ever. I am so happy to see Matteo Rizzo get the surprise silver here with 2 really solid skates, like the best I've seen him in a long time.
We've been looking at Matteo this season as the Italian guy that was kind of falling off. And as much as we love Matteo, it just has felt like a couple of seasons of him kind of like drifting back amongst the Italian men.
And he's also suffered with multiple injuries.
Yeah, and he's a delightful skater and just seems like a genuinely wonderful human being, but he just hasn't been super impressive for a while. So him coming in here and, he was fourth after the short. He's second in the free. He takes home that silver. I think he's as surprised as anybody else when it happens, but you can see as he finishes that free skate, that sense of relief and gratitude of like, I've got it back. Like
he's got it back, and he's also got a spot at the Olympic Games.
Did they officially announce that?
I'm pretty sure it's I'm pretty sure it's a done deal. I think, and anyone in the comments, please correct me, but I'm pretty sure they said that. I mean, the Italian champion Daniel Grassel, who did not have a good competition here at all. He was 15th in the free, 13th overall. But he is the Italian champion. He will be going to the Olympics.
He had locked the spot, but they had said that they had not confirmed that second spot
Correct.
because they weren't certain after that event.
Right. So the second spot was either going to be Matteo Rizzo or Nikolai Memola, and it was going to be based on their positions here at Europeans. Matteo Rizzo gets the silver. Nikolai Memola was in 11th.
Yeah. So I mean, it feels like a given that Rizzo is going to go. So
Correct.
I really enjoyed both of his programs here. He always invests a lot of intention and emotion into his programs.
Absolutely.
And there's a sensitivity to Matteo Rizzo's skating that is very different from a lot of the other guys. When it works, it's a joy to watch. And it worked here. The crowd was really behind him. And I'm thrilled. Absolutely.
Never saw it coming.
We never made any predictions for this. We didn't do a preview episode or whatever, but I absolutely did not see that coming at all. And I'm thrilled for him, but no idea.
And third, out of nowhere, Georgi Redchenko from Czech Republic.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And he was wonderful.
He was great. Let's do a huge shout out to Georgi because, and I'm not sure if I'm saying his name quite right, but
I hope I am. But if I'm not, please teach me because I'm a fan. He
wasn't on my radar, and we've seen him before. I mean, but he feels like a next generation crop of skater. Yeah. He was 8th in the short, which I think in and of itself was already a pretty great outcome for him, and his short program was awesome.
It was really
fantastic. Really enjoyable. But he was 3rd in the free, and that free included probably the best spins of the entire event.
It was definitely up there.
Okay,
it was amongst
the best spin. Anyway, they were good, but his jumps were lovely. He still has artistry to build on. But
I still thought he had nice connection to his music.
He did,
He was invested and committed, and that always goes a long way with me. And there was some video of him finding out backstage that he had actually made the podium, and I don't know, that those types of things always just warm my heart so much. So I'm thrilled for him. That's so cool.
I think, as a commentator on the sport, it's weird to call it that, but that's essentially what we do is, on the show. The challenge is that most of the time we're focused on the names, the people that we know that have track records and that we have a data set to kind of compare. And every once in a while, we get away with a good prediction when we predict like a Laurinaki Gutman or an Ami Nakai or whatever will hop up and get onto a podium when other people didn't see it coming, and it's just gut feeling or whatever. But oftentimes we're just not paying that much attention to these lower tier or just less well-known skaters. And so occasionally you get this wild surprise that nobody sees coming at all. And it's really exciting because it means that the sport has an opportunity for the hero to rise in the moment. And so for Czechia to have a guy land in the top 3 here, with just no expectation, by just delivering 2 awesome programs and to deliver to the crowd really wonderful skates, and just to see his emotion, his team's emotion afterwards, fantastic. I was thrilled for him. It was so cool.
It was great. In 4th was the reigning European champion.
Formerly reigning.
Well, yeah. Lukas Britschke from Switzerland. He was okay. I mean, I don't know that I can say much more than that. Not his worst competition, not his best competition, and 4th felt correct here overall. But I am really sad for the Celeb Bros here because Alexander and Mikhail were 2-3, like 2nd and 3rd in the short program, both having fantastic short programs.
Yeah.
And the free skates just fell apart.
This is rough because I really enjoy the Salev Bros and I enjoy how different they are from each other,
Yes.
but how massively supportive they are as well. And they had talked about after being in second and third after the short that this was like a dream that they've both had for forever, which is to get on the European championship podium together. And they were well poised to do that.
Yep.
And also considering how Niina won, this could have been, it was already a huge weekend for Estonia.
But it could have been massive.
This could have been absolutely massive because these were star-making performances in the short program. Of course, like Alexander has kind of the bigger star power of the two of them.
He does, and he already does have a Europeans medal.
Yes. My take on it is that when they were in the free, Mihail came out and had a really bad free skate. And that feels on par. Like he's been less consistent, I think.
This season for sure.
Yeah. But, he skated right before his brother.
Yeah. So Sasha was literally on the boards, hearing the scores, warming himself up while Mihail is getting his really disappointing numbers and falling way back.
Well, and we talked about this from U.S. Nationals when Jason Brown had a full crash out and then Tomoki Hiwatashi had to follow it and it just sucks the energy out of the room. Now make that your brother.
Right.
And so Sasha has to take—
how hard that has to be.
Yeah. I just feel like that's got to be really crushing. Now, who knows if that's exactly what happened, but, you see them both just kind of plummet. They were 10th and 11th in the free. They land in 5th and 6th, which is still, they're still top 6 overall, which considering how poorly those skates went is pretty impressive. And they do go home with small medal. So it's not like they didn't accomplish something here. They had a really big day after that short, but you can't help but feel like what a massive disappointment that had to have been for them to have it so close to their grasp and have it fall away.
It's also got to be really a struggle because now they still don't know who's going to the Olympics. Only one of the Salev Bros gets to go to the Olympics, and Estonia hasn't named them yet. So they were using Europeans to kind of gauge that. And Sasha technically came out ahead, but by 2 points.
But he was also their national champion this season. But Mihail's beaten him the last 2 years previously. I
don't know. We're gonna see.
If I'm them, I send Alexander Salevko.
Yes,
I think
too.
He's got the better set of two programs. I think that they're more likely to hit on the Olympic stage.
Especially his short, and he did get a Grand Prix medal this season.
Yeah.
So I think that helps his cause, but there's nothing guaranteed just yet. So we'll see. But yeah, the men's competition, there was Denis Vasilyev's had nice programs. They weren't like the absolute best, but I think they're the best we saw from him this season.
They were crowd pleasing. That's all that really mattered.
And I always feel like that's the most important part for Denis.
Yeah, I think that the 7th place finish of Tamir Cooperman was a really nice showing for him.
He did really well.
I think that was his European debut. And I think that he had a couple of really nice skates. I really liked Kirilo Marsik from Ukraine's programs here.
I felt so much warm fuzzies and happies for him. I always want him to skate well. So yes, him coming in 8th here, I think was extraordinary.
Yeah. And a 10th place lock for Adam Hagara from Slovakia. Adam is a terrific skater and again, feels like one of those guys that kind of is like a star of tomorrow and is just also just one of the best sportsmen, I think, of the young set. Like he's come from that generation of juniors that are like a mutual support network.
Oh yeah, and, Adam Hagara and Jacob Sanchez and just
Rio Nakata. All those guys. They're all so supportive of each other, and you saw that here as well. And he's a terrific skater, and I love to see it. You mentioned earlier Nikolai Memela lands in 11th, which I'm guessing eliminates his Olympic spot, but he was very at peace with that, and he's had some really tough few weeks.
Had a rough go for a little while.
Somebody stole all of his stuff, his uniforms, his boots, everything out of his car while he went to the hospital because of an injury. It's just such an awful way to go. You're on your way to potentially locking a spot to the Olympics, and it feels very difficult to discount what an impact that would have on you physically and psychologically to have all of your stuff stolen and then to be like wearing old costumes and getting new boots and whatever. But I think that Memola has one of the best overall just outlooks and personal approaches to all this stuff. And so I am grateful that he seems to be in a good place for it.
Yeah.
You did mention that Daniel Grassel did not do well here, and oh boy, did he not do well here.
Yeah, I don't think we should even discuss it other than I'm hoping he can shake this off because Team Italy needs him.
Yes.
That's my concern. Like him having a bad Euros is one thing. Him going into the team competition, that is the first thing in terms of skating happening at the Olympics in 3 weeks. They need Daniel to have a good skate.
Yeah.
So
he was really in contention for the top spot here.
I had him as one of the favorites.
Yeah,
so
it'd be him versus Nico was always what I would
Yeah.
have thought here. And for him to be 15th in the free, I mean, it was a complete meltdown. I felt awful for him.
I did too.
We should note also that Kevin Amos was here at this event.
Yeah.
Adam Schaumfa had withdrawn a while ago, so he was not going to be at this event at all. Kevin Amos has said before that like Europeans is usually like one of his worst competitions. He just doesn't do well.
Typically, no.
If Europeans was held in Allen, Texas, Kevin Amos would win every time.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's held somewhere in Europe, and that just doesn't seem great for Kevin.
No,
and wow, was his short program.
He fought. I will give him 100% credit. He fought the whole way through. It was not like what we saw a couple of years ago when he melted down. This was not that.
Yeah.
But it was a bad day. And it was weird too, because he looked fantastic in the warm-up.
Yeah.
Like he was landing everything.
Yeah.
And,
well,
oof.
he changed his short program. He's
Yeah.
had that Lady Gaga Judas program, which I love.
I know.
And so I guess somewhere along the lines, he and his team decided that didn't feel Olympic enough. And so they changed the short.
I hope this tells them they should not have done that.
That was a mistake because the Judas program slaps and this thing was a complete fail.
It unfortunately was.
And those falls were nasty.
They looked really painful and they kept him from even making the free skate.
Yeah. What I take away from it, though, was that he held it together. Like, instead of having the big emotional reaction that we often see from Kevin, he was very positive in the kiss and cry. He explained himself on Instagram afterward and said, you know, don't worry about me. I'm not injured. He's like,
Yes.
yeah, it was a bad day, but like, I'm okay. Throw that program away and go back to Judas because it's way better, and retune yourself for the Olympics because we don't want to see that again. Like, that was a disaster.
I want wonderful, fantastic programs from Kevin in Milan. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I think we should quickly transition to the Canadian National Championships that happened last weekend while we were in the Enterprise Center at the U.S. Nationals and did not see. But we should probably speed run what actually happened there.
Yeah. We haven't watched any of this. So
Unfortunately, no.
I can't give you anything other than just pure feelings about how it came down. But if we look at the Canadian men's, Steven Gogolev locks his spot to the Olympics. And
with immense security.
Yeah.
20 points over Roman Sadovsky.
Yeah, a definitive win here from him. And this answers a lot of questions. This is the end game of the season is, of course, like who gets to lock the Olympics. And the Canadians have been a real question mark this season because Gogolev came on really strong, but so did Roman. Roman was looking great this year too. And, Keegan Messing came back and then was a non-factor over the course of this season. But like Wesley Chu was here and we haven't seen him at all this season.
No, because he's been out with injury.
Yeah.
So it's definitely was an up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen? And then Gogolev said, "Nope, you know exactly what's going to happen. Here you go."
Yeah. Now I did hear that Roman had a terrific free skate.
Yes, I did hear that as well.
And he came close in that free, but he was so far behind after the short program that he couldn't he came back up quite a bit, but just couldn't make that challenge. Gogolev has been very compelling this season.
He has.
He's been far more consistent. His jumps have been really good. He is not the artist that Roman is, but he has improved. We've seen him.
He's gotten better.
Really do a lot better, and I am unsurprised to see him take the spot.
Not
Even
at all.
of the two, my preference is stylistically is Roman, and I'm sad for him he doesn't get to go. But Gogo fought hard from being a guy who I thought was going to retire after his injuries a couple of years ago to now going to the Olympics. It's an impressive trajectory for him.
Yes. In the women's event, it did not have to be over her dead body, as she discussed in the media. Maddie Schizis took it by 5 points over the returning Gabby Daleman. And then Minsol Kwan was in the bronze spot, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
New Canadian Minsol Kwan. I think everybody knew it was going to probably come down to Madeline Schizis or Gabby Daleman. Gabby gave her a good fight. I think that it really is that Maddie needs to skate mad and hungry. And she was mad and hungry.
Mad dog Maddie Schizis.
Mad dog Maddie Schizis.
I always
works.
want to see Maddie Schizis skate angry because that's when it's always the best.
It is.
She was fourth after the short, and when we saw the initial scores where Minsol was in first after the short and Gabby was in second and Sarah Dupuis was in third and Maddie was back and fourth, we were like, oh no, Maddie Schizis might be out of the running. And then in the interviews afterward, she was quoted basically as saying like, somebody else will go to the Olympics over my dead body. Yeah. And we were like, oh, Maddie's mad now.
Yeah.
Now it's on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was before the short or after, but one way or another, she did say it. That was real. And she meant it.
Yeah. And she came back hard. It makes me a little sad for Gabby Daleman just because like she has returned after several years away from injury. Worked so hard, looks so good. But
she was close.
Yeah, but we didn't really get to see her in the big international competitions. She never got
no, but we will next week because she's going to be at Four Continents.
That's awesome.
I look forward to it.
Yes, because we didn't get to see her on the Grand Prix at all, and I'm excited to see her in a really big international competition. Because Gabby's style and like, you know, she's a more muscular, like powerful skater, and I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
I do like what you mentioned about Minsol Kwan because notably Minsol is from Korea and went to Canada to train, and somewhere in the process said, you know what, like
I'm Canadian now.
Yeah. She got her release from the Korean Federation and now officially skates for Canada. And I'm sure citizenship is a ways off, but she is cleared to skate internationally and, you know, here at nationals on behalf of Canada. So that's a really interesting move, and her being third here, it sets nicely for her for, you know, the coming future. So pretty excited for her overall. A little bummer to see Sarah Dupuis and Kaya Reuter all the way down in 8th and 9th here. But
yeah, they had good shorts, but not good frees, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So in the dance, I think there is zero surprise in any fashion. It went Gilles and Poirier first, Lajoie and Lagat in second, Larotte and Lagac in bronze, and they are going to the Olympics. This all feels correct.
They could have not had this event.
I agree.
Like they could have just said, this is who's going to go, and it could have been done.
The closest was going to be Fabry and Air, but I still feel like that whenever you look at the three teams above them, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So it all went exactly to plan.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to say that was predetermined, but it is just exactly as you would have thought it went down. It's a shame for Fabry and Eric because I like that team a lot, but they don't stand out as much as Laurent and Lagac, and their stuff is just so interesting. And I think that they're going to be really, really fun on the international stage at the Olympics.
I did hear something that they have to change their rhythm dance for the Olympics due to music copyright issues. So I'm curious to see how that goes.
Such a mess with all that kind of stuff this season.
It is.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk the surprise of the event, I do think it was the pairs where the Canadian national champions are Leah Pereira and Trent Michaud. I love this team. I think they keep getting better. I'm thrilled for them. I am really sad for Deanna Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps, obviously, but they got the silver medal and locked their Olympic spot. From what I heard online, it sounds like Deanna had been ill.
Yeah, she said that her condition had been deteriorating while she was there. It sounded like it was food poisoning or some other kind of illness.
Like, some stomach bug.
Yeah, and so probably doing anything where you're being lifted by your stomach or being spun.
Oh my God.
Probably doesn't feel great. So to do as well as they did, considering how sick she was, is still pretty impressive. But it is rough for them to lose that national title right before going to the Olympics.
Right, it is. But I am happy for Leah and Trent. I feel like they've had a steady season, but especially here, like getting that first national title, that's really cool for them. So cheers to them. But I also heard online that Kellyanne Laurent and Lucas Ete had a fantastic free skate.
Yeah, I heard they smashed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So a bronze medal for them, meaning that they're not going to the Olympics, which I don't think that was ever going to happen.
I'm sure they were striving for it, but the expectation of that team making it there would have been very, very low.
It would have really taken a disastrous performance really from Leah and Trent, because I can't imagine Canada wasn't going to send their world champions.
Of course. Yeah,
it was going to happen. So they are a team of the future. And I feel like a performance like that and getting as close as they did only solidifies that more for their future.
I think that Kellyanne and Lucas have really evolved a lot in the last year or so.
They have.
And I just think that they've had more strong skates in the last year than that I was expecting from them before. And so I've really come to enjoy that team, and I'm excited for them getting that medal there.
Me too. I think that wraps us up for today, but only 4.5 days until Four Continents starts and another really long competition.
Oh my gosh, why must they run these back to back to back? Can we not sleep for a little while? I mean, Four Continents is going to be exciting, though. I mean, we look at
excited.
The men's competition. We get Junwon Cha, Mikhail Shidorov, Tomoki Hiwatashi, Kao Miura, Kazuki Tomono, Sota Yamamoto, Bo Yang Jin. I mean, that is a great lineup.
It's a great
for the dudes. Yeah,
great lineup. We are not going to get Jason Brown here as initially planned. He withdrew, which I think is totally understandable after what happened at Nationals.
Yeah.
So Liam Kapakis is taking his spot. So I think this competition is going to be awesome. I personally admit I cannot wait to see Junwon, but I saw a video online of Kao. I believe he did a quad loop triple toe. So I'm curious, Cal. You are a former Four Continents champion. Bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it here.
Yeah, but let's look at the women's competition here, though, because it's Ami Nakai, Mona Chiba, Yuna Aoki, Brady Tennell, Sarah Everhart, Star Andrews, Jia Shin, Heian Lee, Sophia Simultokina, and Gabby Daleman. And then Asun Yun will also be there replacing Cheon Kim, who has withdrawn. That is a hell of a lineup.
Yeah, it is. I am particularly excited for this one. Like, that's a really stellar women's lineup. And I am always a little concerned whenever the Olympics are as close as they are, and you're sending Ami Nakai and Mona Chiba here, and Jia Shin and Heian Lee, and Sophia Simultokina.
Yeah.
But at the same time, personally, I'm excited to see it. So it'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The dance competition is going to have Zingis and Kolesnik and Green and Parsons and the Brown siblings from the U.S. Fabri and Air and Hana Lim and Ye Kwan are also going to be at this competition. So nice wave there.
And I really feel like this is the chance for Zingis and Kolesnik to either take that championship and go into the Olympics on a high, or redemption skates for Green and Parsons to say, okay, you got the Olympic spot, but we get the title.
Yeah, but that could be really, really good for Zingis and Kolesnik if they can lock this down. And I mean, it's by no means a guarantee here.
There's no guarantee.
But that would be really nice for them to roll into the Olympics with a big championship.
The pairs is particularly of interest because Sui and Han will be here. So we'll get one more look at how their trajectory towards the Olympics is going.
Yeah.
Very, very, very curious about that. But they'll have some nice competition here. Nagoka and Moriguchi will be here from Japan. Love them. We'll get our first look in a while from the Australian team of Gulebova and Giotopoulos Moore. So that's
she
cool.
got her citizenship now.
Did.
So that caused them problems. They weren't really able to leave the country for a while they were locking her citizenship down, but that is in place. And so they are Olympic bound and great news for the Australian team.
Yes, and we'll get our U.S. national champions, Efimova and Mitrofanov. They can come here instead of the Olympics, so we'll get them. Hopefully they have a great competition. And we'll also see Audrey Shin and Balazs Naj and Katie McBeath and Danielle Parkman. I'm excited. My body isn't. I don't want to be on the couch again for this much time, but I am excited.
Start watching all this on the treadmill or something. Like,
I think that's the third episode where we've said that.
I've probably said that. Yeah. But oh my gosh, side-by-side treadmills so we can walk our way through these competitions.
Who's got space, time, or money for that?
None of it. But oh my gosh, it's just an awful lot. So, I mean, wrapping up this episode then, let's talk gold in our heart. From Europeans, do you have a choice for gold in your heart from this event?
From this event, who is my gold in my heart? I was so tired watching most of this. Olivia Smart and Tim Deek. because I love them. And I think that they are like so many people's favorites and underscored. So yeah, Olivia and Tim, doesn't mean much, but I love you. And you have gold in my heart.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Georgi Rashchenko from Czechia because such a huge achievement for him getting into that bronze spot in the men's competition and just delivering 2 very enjoyable skates in a competition full of complete meltdowns and messes. His were definite bright spots, but with a extra little bonus just to show appreciation for Haka and Kunkel, who again really enjoyed at this event.
I love those choices.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments, how did you feel about Europeans? What were your favorite skates? Did your favorite skaters perform well here? Or how did you feel about them overall? How did you feel about, say, the scoring in the ice dance and the pairs and stuff? Yeah. How did you feel about all those things? Are you excited for 4 continents, or are you as exhausted as we are? And that's nothing to say about the proposed possible changes to the ICU, which we're not going to talk about in this episode because that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole episode.
If you haven't heard about it, I was raging mad about some of those last night. We'll save that for another time. But yeah, just let us know how you're feeling about all of those things. And thank you for all some of the nice comments and stuff. I haven't had a chance to respond to any of them on the U.S. Nationals one. I'll get to that. But I think we got a bunch of new listeners on that one, some new people.
So welcome.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And we're going to talk to you again after 4 continents. And for Scoreography, I'm Adrian Buskey.
And I'm Wendy Buskey.
And we will talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.